Hey, YouTube family, Clear Faith Christian Nation family, God bless you. This is Pastor Devin Miller, the real pastor, the true pastor, bringing you yet another segment of what we call Financial Matters that we do on Wednesdays. And why do we do Financial Matters? Because financials matter. And so we want to continue our conversation with Carlos McConico Jr., who has been teaching us on the opportunities that are available to us through trusts. And we are simulcasting this audible audio wise, excuse me, on TikTok. So we're going to try a new system. You know, I'm always trying new things. So we're going to see how this audio version on TikTok works. Even though I'm live on TikTok, but they're only going to hear what we're doing over here on YouTube and see how it goes. All right. So let me go ahead and bring on Carlos, and we'll get started. Carlos, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Pastor. Thank you for having me. I'm always glad to be able to sit virtual living room with you. The
That's
virtual.
right. That's right. It was my virtual office. It was if we was in the living room, we'd be watching TV. So I got to keep it professional. So we keep it in my office.
Yeah.
But if you heard what I was saying, we're also on TikTok audibly, and so I'll be looking back and forth
Mhm.
to see if any folks have any questions. They can hear you fine, so that's good. So you're reaching our TikTok audience as well on today because I just wanted to try and see if it would work, and why not try it while we're doing something. So let's do a recap real briefly of what we've covered up to this point, and then what we're going to cover today.
All right. Yes, sir. Well, I will be sharing the screen here in just a moment. But
Okay.
just as a quick recap, we've talked about this is be our third session now. And
Yes.
what we have discussed is how assets are transferred to loved ones and family members in the event of our demise. And we talked about the popular ways that people do those type of transitions, but we also talked about the pros and cons of each of those. And so I'll take a moment just to say if you did not get access to or haven't had the opportunity to at this point, please go back and check out the very first session that we did. We talked about those popular options and the cautions of each. And then we went further into trust being an option. Okay, and there are different types of trust out there in the world of trust. There's 166 different options, but we talked about the four types that you would want to have as part of your estate strategy, and that these trusts that we're discussing are not just your living trust or what we consider to be statutory trust based on state laws, but actually that of a private federal trust. And there are many advantages to that when it comes to your health care, when it comes to how assets are transferred without probate. And if you did not get the opportunity to check out our second session, I would encourage you, please go back to that second session that we discussed those benefits of having the private federal trust. And as it relates to that today, this is our third session. And what we're going to talk about more at this time is going to be more about the tax advantages. Okay, we're going to get more into the tax advantages and more importantly, how can the trust benefit you today? Okay, because a lot of times when we think of a trust and understanding the options of probate and transitioning assets at the time of our demise, but I want to show you today how a trust can benefit you now while you're yet alive.
And let me add here while you're doing that, all the videos are on our YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube and look up Clear Faith Christian Ministries, you'll find the last two sessions under Financial Matters with Carlos, I think it says. So it's over there. The rebroadcast, like I showed you the numbers, I text you the numbers earlier today. Um, we're getting views, so the information is getting out there to people. They may not be on the live, but they're definitely catching the rebroadcast. So that's a good thing, because as many people as we can reach, we reach. I've learned a long time ago not to be concerned about numbers when I'm on live, but as long as I'm recording, then it's a library forever. And so we're thankful for that as well. So you still have the floor, sir. I just wanted to make sure folks knew where to go and see the videos that you were talking about.
No, absolutely. And again, thank you for that, because those details do matter. So what we're going to do today, we're going to get into, again, the tax advantages that can benefit you now. And so if you will, I'm going to share the screen, okay, just and I'll go back over just the trust development that we discussed before. We talked about there were three key individuals that have helped in the development of these private federal trusts. I do want to make it clear that most of our countries in the world are set up as private federal trusts, but the development to this level, these three individuals had a lot to do with that. That's Joseph Kennedy, Mitt Romney, and of course, Donald Trump, our current commander in chief. Joseph Kennedy created what's called the Dynasty Trust in order to be able to pass assets along and skip the generation skipping tax. That's so that your family doesn't have to pay estate tax or um, the generation skipping if you were to try to overlook your children, your offspring, and then send your assets to your grandchildren. The second was the non-grantor, the spendthrift, and we're going to spend quite a bit of time on that spendthrift today. Okay, that's going to be the one that benefits you now. That is the secret sauce. Okay, and the reason the spendthrift was created was because Mitt Romney had a disabled child, and the rationale behind taking care of disabled children or disabled family members in general as beneficiaries of a trust, if they are not able to perform or work in a situation where they're able to take care of themselves, then it would only make sense that they wouldn't then need to be responsible for taxes. So the spendthrift clause was created there in 1976 to take care of individuals who aren't able to pay taxes but still need to be taken care of. And that's going to be a huge, huge benefit. And then finally, in 1986, Donald Trump created what's called the blind trust to protect business assets. And as was mentioned before, and some of us are familiar, you aren't able to look into all of the affairs concerning Donald Trump because, well, people have tried. Okay, and so we want to give you that same power, regardless of how you feel about either of these individuals and what they've contributed. This is a benefit for you and I. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what made this trust unique. We talked about that. There's the irrevocable trust. That means you cannot change the way that the trust is structured, and the trust is structured as a non-grantor trust, which means this trust is put up by someone other than yourself, so your social security number is not attached to it at all. It cannot be pierced through any type of litigation or investigation when your social is clearly not attached to it. The complex with the simple provision allows you what's called discretionary authority, which means you can decide how assets are going to be distributed or retained and defer taxes. Okay, we're going to get more into that today. And then ultimately, that spendthrift is what we're going to talk about as to why you're able to benefit now while you're yet alive. And then, of course, your family will benefit, or those that come after you will benefit after your demise. There's three important positions in these trusts. Again, just as a review, there's the trustee, which is you initially to establish your trust. You will be the one that connects with the bank, managing the finances and investments, banking decisions. That would be you. And then you also hold that of the compliance officer, which is able to add and remove trustees and beneficiaries as you see fit. That's a part of that complex provision, that discretionary authority that you have. And then the third position are going to be beneficiaries. Now, beneficiaries are just what they say they are. They benefit from the trust. Now, once you have established your trust, then you can choose to resign as the trustee and hire a third-party accounting firm as the trustee. But as the compliance officer, you still remain in control and have discretionary authority. You can add beneficiaries. You can remove beneficiaries. You can add assets to the trust. You can remove assets for the trust as you have sold them and benefited from that. So you'll get complete discretion as the compliance officer. And then now, if you've resigned as the trustee, then you can now become a beneficiary of the trust. So you'll have both the beneficiary hat, and you take that off, and you become the compliance officer and make the decisions to benefit. So that is a unique position to be in. Why does all of this matter as far as taxes are concerned? Well, we talked about the benefits of healthcare. We talked about the state benefits provided through Medicaid in conjunction with federal benefits as well for healthcare of individuals at later stages in life who are not able to perform, daily functions as they would like to. And there's a number of 6 daily functions that are required. And of course, if you aren't able to perform at least 2 out of those 6, then you may qualify for those healthcare benefits through Medicaid. Well, what happens is there's a limit to your assets that you're able to possess in your social when it's time to apply for those Medicaid benefits. And usually those assets mean you would have to eliminate anything above a certain amount. Again, you can look up those requirements, but it's usually related to 1 house, 1 car, and I think $2,000 cash. So if you have anything more than that, then you won't qualify. And so how is it then that individuals who have multiple houses are able to still qualify for Medicaid? Is because they don't own any assets, but their private family trust does. Okay, so we're going to talk about why that's important, and again, how that relates to your social security number and your own EIN number. Okay, so did you know, and a lot of people did not know, that the original U.S. Constitution did not require individual citizens to pay federal income tax? Did you know? Under the original Constitution, the federal government had no authority to impose a direct income tax on individual citizens, only to collect indirect taxes like tariffs and excises, and direct taxes had to be apportioned among the states. So that's according to the original Constitution. You and I were not born a taxpayer. We were born free. The tax system that we now live under was engineered after 1913, which was to extract wealth from the laborers and to enrich the capitalized powers. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, in 1936, the Social Security number was sold to the public as a way to track your earnings so that you can receive a retirement benefits later. Right? And I say the quotes, I know you see the quotes, because it became much more than that. It evolved into a federal control mechanism. I'm gonna let that sit with you for a moment. We all have our fair share of taxes to pay, but it was not designed for us to pay taxes. It was designed for them to track income for the earnings, is what they said. But now it becomes a control mechanism. Here's what your Social Security actually does. Not only does it track your earnings, right? Every job you've ever worked is reported to the IRS and Social Security Administration using your Social Security number. It allows the government to monitor how much you earn and how much you owe in taxes. Number 2, it links you to debt that you owe and benefits. So student loans, taxes, credit card debt, medical bills, they're all tied to your Social Security number. Think about the benefits, your Social Security, your disability, your Medicare, all also are linked to your Social Security number. Even unemployment, welfare, and housing assistance, all linked to your Social Security number. So with your Social Security number, the state and the corporate systems can now track your spending habits, access your credit report, issue warrants, judgments, or liens, and then they can even freeze your bank account. How many of y'all feel like that's too much power? That's too much power.
All right.
So what happens is the Social Security number turns you and I into a taxpayer class, whether you want to be or not. It automates the IRS oversight of your entire economic life. So without a social security number, the government cannot legally track your track or tax your labor in the same way. This is very important. So what was originally designed was for corporations to be taxed. But once you have a social security number now, the corporation of you can now be taxed. The individual, you may not have to pay tax, but through that social security number, the corporation of you now is responsible for tax. You are no longer just a citizen. You become a registered economic unit that's monitored and managed through a federal matrix of taxation, benefits, and behavioral data, which means you are treated like a corporation. But you don't get any of the benefits of being a corporation.
Mm.
Jobs were never designed to make you wealthy. They were only designed to make you taxable.
Wow.
I'm gonna pause
That,
for.
that, that needs to sit for a minute because that's a powerful statement. That it wasn't designed to make you wealthy, but it was designed to make you taxable.
That's it. And if we pause for a moment to think about all those systems, as was mentioned, we're talking the Social Security Administration, we're talking welfare and those type of benefits, we're talking about income, we're talking about everything you do, student loans, debts, everything is tied to your social.
Hmm. Wow.
That's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is again, as possible, as much as possible, remove things that are tied to you and your social, and but let you still have access. What we say here is access is better than ownership.
Mm.
Access is better than
Wow.
ownership. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and speak to the preacher in you just a little bit. None of us own anything. Our Father in heaven owns everything, right? He
Correct.
said, "The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof." And I'm not here to preach, but I have to say, if He owns everything but gives us access,
Mm-hmm.
it only makes sense to now operate that way from an economic standpoint and remove yourself from the system that was not designed to make you wealthy, but designed to make you taxable. Does that make sense now? I'm gonna go a little
Makes
bit further.
100%.
Let's go a little
Right.
bit further. Let's take a look here at these are the different tax brackets now. Okay. And you'll notice whether you're single um, or single or married filing separately, the tax brackets will be the same. Then you've got married filing jointly. And then you got those that are head of household, right? They've got every different family dynamic in this graph here. And the one I want you to pay attention to is the one here on the left that has the tax rate at 12%. Okay, 12%. And so if you're single or married filing separately, the income limits for 2024 are $9,951 up to $40,525. Okay, I hope you can see that, everyone. Why do we point this out? Because if you make $1 more, you make
Right.
$1 more, you go from a 12% tax to a 22% tax. You instantly pay 10% more in taxes.
Wow.
So there comes a point in time, and I know I have experienced this before I came into this information, where I may work so many more extra hours, but it feels like my paycheck was the same. In fact, sometimes even less. Why
Mm-hmm.
is that? Because you hit a new tax bracket with your income. Now they're taxing you more on that income. So what you find is the more you work, the more they get to keep.
Mm. And just to pause, just kind of for our TikTok audience, what he's showing us is the income rate circa 2024. And just to give you the numbers and the breadth of what he's saying, uh, the tax rates go from 10% to 37%. Okay, as a single person, single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, or just head of household. Okay, so 10% is the low end, 30%, 37% is the high end. Now here's the numbers that go with that. For a single person, it's you're at the 10% bracket if your income goes up to $9,950. You go this is what he was saying. You go $1 more and you jump from 10% to 12%. And that ranges from 99.51 to 40,525. You go $1 more and you're now in the 22% tax bracket. Just because you got a raise, you
Yes.
got more taxes. And now you're 40,526 to 86,375. $1 more, you jump just 2% to 24%, and that's from 86,376 to
That's right.
164,925. Now here's another one. You get another dollar on your 164, and now you're at 32%. So you jumped 8% just because you made a dollar. On so you're at 164,926 to 209,425. You go to 209,426, you're in the 35 percentile.
There we go.
And that goes from 209,426 to 523,600. And then you cap off at 37% if you're at $523,601 or more. And if you at that bracket, you need to be given to Clear Faith Christian Ministries so you can get some more tax breaks.
Hey.
But that crazy jump is from 99.51, $40,000. Let's just stop there.
There you
You're
go.
making $40,000, which is about average for a mid-income job. You're making $40,000 a year. You get a raise and your income tax rate jumps 10%. That's crazy.
You literally took the next point I was going to make. I mean, literally, that is right at the average where Americans are. And if you
Right,
make $1 more than the limit, you're now taxed at a 10% high rate. That is the biggest jump in all of these tax brackets. Isn't
right.
that something?
Wow.
And
And I'm not going to go over all these numbers because you have to go to the video and watch it yourself. But I just wanted you to just catch the impact of what he was saying,
yes, sir.
and relate that also, if it does, Carlos, related to all this craziness with the tariffs and all of that. That's why it hits middle class so much more than it does on the low or the high.
That's right. And the reason is your corporations, although they may be taxed at those different rates, they are going to charge that back to the customers, the consumers. Where are the most of consumers' incomes fall? Right in that range. So that
Right.
therefore taxes us, the individuals, at those levels. So this is a huge, huge thing to understand. And of course, I gave my own example, but think about your own life. Have you ever experienced the more you made, the more you pay in taxes, right?
Right.
So again, becoming an employee of a company and having your social security number was not designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you taxable.
Wow.
So what if there were a way to mitigate some of those taxes? What if there were a
Mhm.
way to reduce what you pay out in taxes? What if there was a structure in place that would help you with that? Well, let me share with you what our tax system makes advantages for. There are two institutions, and one of them you'll be happy to know, my brother. One of them is married couples. If you notice, the income is much higher for married couples
Right.
before you hit that taxable rate. In fact, if you were to look at that 12% rate, right, you're looking at 40,525 for a single person. But
Hmm.
if you multiply that by two, that's
Right.
80,000. Excuse me, 81,000. But you got a little extra cushion there. Again, the
Hmm.
marriage, by being married, gives you a little bit of an advantage just in as an employee, but it really makes a difference when you become a business owner. Anybody recognize? Oh, well, of course, those that are not able to see. I'm going to explain. I have an image here of Jeff Bezos, who is the owner and founder of Amazon there. And it shows here now, again, this is back in 2018. I'm pretty sure he hadn't paid taxes since then, but it shows that Amazon will pay $0 in taxes on 11.2 billion. Excuse me, y'all. That's billion with a B.
With a B. With a B.
At the M, the B. $11.2 billion in profit for 2018. And it's here listed. I have listed here the companies: Amazon, IBM, Netflix, among the 60. It wasn't just one or two companies, you guys. There are 60 companies on the Fortune 500 list that will pay zero in federal taxes. How is that possible?
Right.
You mean to tell me, now I really got to rewind. You mean to tell me that the individuals now are paying the taxes, the corporations are not? When the whole purpose of the Social Security number was to make you a corporation?
Hmm.
So you could be taxed, but you don't get none of the benefits of being a corporation.
Right. Wow.
So what we have here is a copyrighted estate strategy. Now I'll do my best to verbalize this for those who are able to listen only. I do encourage you to come back and see the visual representation here. But we have created and copyrighted an estate strategy that helps you to eliminate taxes. Let me just give you the components of the strategy first, okay? And this depends on where you are currently, how you'll have this structured. Everything can be customized to your situation, okay? So don't feel limited or boxed in if this doesn't look like your exact picture as it sits right now, okay? So one of the first steps of your estate strategy, whether you're at the top, number one, is either you receive income as a W-2 as an employee, or do you receive maybe a 1099 as a self-employed or business owner, okay? So with those two different designations, what we recommend, if you are able to become a 1099 employee, corporation, business, a 1099 business income, but when you file your taxes, instead of filing just as an LLC, you can actually file taxes as an S corporation. Okay. Now, before I get too far into it, I always want to state I am not a CPA. I'm not an IRS enrolled agent. I'm just a consultant. Okay. I'm not a lawyer, but I just want to share information that hopefully you can benefit from. And if you got more questions, as we said on the last session, I'll give you my contact information so that we can answer those questions. Okay. But once again, as a 1099, you receive income through a 1099 as a business, then you're able to designate when it comes time to file taxes as an S corporation. Okay, so I want to make mention that even if you have not filed as an S corporation, but you already have a business, you do have a window of opportunity for up to 3 years to go back and get that designation changed. Okay, again, we have ways to help you with that. We're not going to get into that now. But the second step, once you have your LLC or S corporation status set up for your taxes, the second thing you want to have is another S corporation as a capital holding company. As a capital holding company. Now, again, this may not be your situation now, but for those of us who've had visions, had plans, always wanted to be in business, here's where the second advantage comes in. The first was being married. The second is being businesses. So if you've ever thought of it, here's how you would want to structure things. Having a capital holding company allows you to make purchases for all your businesses, equipment, land, buildings, whatever you need. You purchase them through the capital holding company. Okay. And then turn around and lease them from the capital holding to any other LLCs that you may have established. I'm going to walk through an example, okay? And I'm just going to use A, maybe B right now, okay? Because my wife and I have a couple of things that we're building, okay? My wife is a real estate agent. So we may have our real estate business, whether we're going to do rental properties, for example, or fix and flips, right? So you've got our real estate company that needs to purchase equipment, needs to purchase assets. Well, we will purchase them through the capital holding company and then turn around and lease them to our LLC that does real estate. Why is that? because when you lease property, it's 100% tax deductible. That's a business expense. Okay. Now, you happen to be the capital holding company and the LLC, but because you have that lease agreement set up, that's going to eliminate some of your taxes. Why? That's money that gets become deductible. Then we have a second business that may be a management company that manages the real estate for the company A. Well, any equipment or assets that are needed there can be purchased through that capital holding company as well. Those layers protect you when it comes to taxes. And again, I should mention the reason you use an S corporation is because it allows you to pass those taxes instead of being taxed at a corporate level and then again taxed as an individual on a W-2. An S corporation will allow you to pass those taxes through, retain the income in the company, and you're only going to be taxed on what you receive as W-2 income. So why is that important? Well, you've heard the term of being double taxed.
Right.
Taxed as a corporation and as an individual. Well, by having an S corporation designation, now you're only going to be taxed on what you receive as a W-2 income of your corporation. Okay. So now you've got these two corporations that you have established. Everything else becomes a partnership LLC. So you can open up literally numerous businesses, several different things. Again, my wife and I have partnered on some things. My wife is very talented. She's able to do hair. She's able to do real estate. I do finance. So we have several things that will be in partnership with the capital holding company. Now, why do you want to be in partnership with a capital holding company? Well, let's say, for example, you were doing really well in your business and you are at the highest tax bracket, which we saw was 37%. So can you imagine being taxed 37% on, in this example, we've got A, B, C, D, E. That's 5 different companies taxed at 37%.
Right.
That would be astronomical. But by partnering all of those companies with an LLC, with an S corporation as a capital holding company, now all the income is funneled through the capital holding company, and it's going to be limited to a different type of tax called distribution tax. And that's limited at 20% because you're only going to be taxed on distributions. These are things that the average of us just have not been exposed to. We just don't know.
Right.
And had we not known, we probably wouldn't know what steps to take to even get this in place. Now we have access. Okay. So this is just the first steps, right? You got your S corporation at the top. Then you've got a capital holding company. And then any other partnerships that you want to establish. Now I want to pause here to say, this is your public life. This is your public life. Everything that's below the line, of course, when you are able to look at the visual here, for those that are only able to hear audio, below that line, we've got the 4 trust strategy we talked about. Okay, here's where each of those 4 trusts function differently. We mentioned this once before, but I will reiterate. Now you set up 4, 5, and 6. 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that's going to be the family trust, your business trust, your investment trust, and then that of a private foundation. Okay. Again, your family trust, your business trust, your investment trust, and then that of a private foundation. Each one of those trusts take in money in different forms. Okay. Your family trust is going to take in what's called principal. That's principal money that comes in after taxes. Okay. After taxes. You may want to make some notes on this. Again, this should be recorded. You can always go back and do it again. The second is your business trust. These are the trusts that take in income. Income comes into the business trust. This particular trust will need to file a tax return because it's going to receive income. Your family trust, you don't want to file taxes on your family trust. You want it to receive principal after taxes. Okay. And there's ways to transfer money. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay. Then you want to have an investment trust. An investment trust takes in money via capital gains. For example, you purchase some investments. As those investments grow, there's what's called a capital gains tax. How many of y'all know there's at least 12 different taxes? 12 different taxes that are levied on the citizens and corporations, right? You've got income tax, you've got estate tax, we got capital gains tax. There's a whole list of taxes, okay? There's state tax, there's federal tax, there's a whole list. So of at least 12 different types of taxes. But with the investment trust, it takes in capital gains. Okay. So as a review, you got the family trust, takes in principal after taxes. Your business trust takes in income before taxes. Your investment trust takes in capital gains before taxes. Okay. And then the private foundation that is going to be established as a 508c. My pastor here, you probably have seen many a churches set up as a 501c, right? A 501c is a nonprofit organization that is able to receive, donations, but that of a private foundation, the 508c, is a whole setup different as a trust to receive donations as well. But there's different rules regarding the 501 versus the 508.
Okay.
You can own your own 508 private foundation trust, also called a ministry trust. Once again, as a reminder, for those countries that are established under these type of trusts, they have a prime minister. Now it starts to make sense. Okay, so you can become the prime minister of your own family trust. Obviously, you wouldn't make that public, but the point is, you've got 4 different trusts. They serve different functions, and every one of these trusts are powerful. We don't have time to get into this. Just know that through Succeed Consulting Firm, there is a 52-week training. And when I say 52 weeks, I mean every week there's something new. You're learning about how to operate in this new strategy. Again, we weren't even taught how to handle money in school. Okay, that was taught across the dinner table if your parents talked about it, right? I've heard Dave Ramsey say that our parents didn't talk about money and they didn't talk about sex. We assumed they didn't have either one of them. Turns out they had both, right? So that's not taught in school. That's taught at home. All the more if we're not taught about how trust can benefit us now, then how would you know how to use it? It's like having the license to drive, but never been behind the wheel of this vehicle. Okay. Right. So your public life includes your S corporations, your LLCs, your partnerships, your capital holding companies. All that's public. But then the private life is that of those 4 trusts: the family trust, the business trust, the investment trust, and that of the private foundation. Now, with that being said, we would have to get into a little bit more another time on how to make those moves that eliminate those taxes. But I do want to share with you. Oh, wait, let me go back. I do want to share with you one thing as far as those taxes are concerned. According to the IRS Code 643, and this is important to know, IRS Code 643, and I'm going from memory here, but just work with me. You are able to determine whether you want to receive distributions from your trust or you want to defer those distributions, defer any capital gains. So you're able to defer capital gains or distributions with these trusts. That is a tax advantage. That is a huge tax advantage. Remember, we talked about the discretionary authority. We talked about it being a complex trust with simple provisions. That gives you the ability to defer. Or you say, you know what, this year I could use some of that income. I could use some of those capital gains if you decide. You have discretionary authority. Okay. Now, again, that applies while you're yet living.
Right.
So we're going to talk more about the living benefits of this trust. Y'all ready? This is the one that's going to make all the difference. This is the secret sauce. It is called the beneficial spendthrift clause. Oh, excuse me. I missed the L there. Forgive my spelling. And then you know what? If I never said it, we probably wouldn't have noticed. But the
Right.
beneficial spendthrift clause includes these benefits. It includes your travel, includes a travel to a museum, okay, home expenses, gas and vehicle and maintenance, medical, your charitable contributions, education, wellness, interest on credit cards, telephone bills, life insurance premiums, bank and credit card charges, even your postage for mail. Okay. Now I'm going to try to go through this as quick as I can, just with some examples. But I want you to take note of number one, the travel. How many of us like to travel, right? Many of us like to travel, whether it's across the United States, seeing all the different national parks here in the United States, or if you want to travel abroad, you want to go see different countries. Here is the key: with the beneficial spendthrift clause, you must see a museum, or at least purchase tickets for accounting purposes. Whether or not you go, that's between you and your family. But you at least need to purchase the tickets to a museum that allows any trip that you take, any travel that you take, to be tax deductible. Oh, it's
So
about
that would fall. I would imagine that would fall under education.
there you go. It's because of the educational provision that allows
Right.
you to go travel. Okay? Because again, you got to keep in mind, if you have a beneficiary, whether they're disabled or not, remember Mitt Romney wanted to be able to experience life with his
Hmm.
family. As long as it's considered educational, it's a tax deduction.
Right.
And you hit the nail dead on the head. It is considered educational. So the next point is here. Let's take a look. And these are some averages, okay? I just put up some averages to kind of illustrate the point. You may spend less, you may spend more. Everybody's travel needs are different. In fact, all the examples are just the averages that we pulled up, okay? National averages here. So just a plug and play, fit in, get in where you fit in, as we were told as kids coming up. So domestic travel for most people per person, the budget tends to be around $5,915. Now, that's anywhere in the United States. You can go have a vacation, whether that's a 5 day or 7 day vacation. For one person, you're looking at about $5,915. International travel is a little more than that. It's about twice that, right? About 10,800. So for those who like to travel, abroad, as you currently are structured, you got zero write-offs, zero write-offs. But as long as you go to a museum and you have this trust in place, any one of the trusts have this spendthrift clause. So depending on which one you want to use, you have access to write off the entire trip. So you could do both domestic and abroad and write the
Right.
entire trip off. As long as you see a museum, you stop by a museum, you're good to go.
Yeah.
How about what you're spending on home expenses? Of course, these are just some averages. Average home repair, 5,000. Lawn care, 1,200. HOA fees. Some people love HOA. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody likes HOA. You got your regular roof maintenance, right? Just the maintenance is 2,000, not to include any improvements or a new roof. That could be 10, 15, $20,000. Uh,
Right.
Home improvements average is 12,000. Pool maintenance, 1,800. Maid service, 8,000 for those who can afford a maid. If you're currently spending money on these items, you're not getting any write-offs. But if you have the spendthrift clause in this trust, the entire package begins a write-off. This is how it benefits you now. I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting excited when I think about this because this changes things. These are
Yeah.
things that we're currently spending money on as we speak.
Right.
As we speak. What about gas and oil in your vehicles? Parking and tolls, new AC, new tires. You know, in Texas, we can't afford to ride without an AC.
Hmm.
Look at that. And we're talking on the low end. These are just the averages, right? Most people spend, this is a yearly basis, 2250 in fuel, 600
Hmm.
bucks a year in oil changes, parking, tolls. I mean, you probably spend more than that in tolls here. They've been putting tolls everywhere in this area of Texas. I'm not sure where you are, but in Texas, there are tolls everywhere. new AC, new tires, whatever you need for your vehicle. Right now, you're not getting those write-offs. Through the vehicle clause on the spendthrift, you're able to write off all of these expenses. What about medical expenses? Medical expenses can be quite high. Hospital, clinical services, your prescription medications, co-pays, dental, vision. Right now, not getting any write-offs. Look at the total there. 11,767 now becomes a tax deduction for you. Because as a beneficiary of the trust, you should be cared for and not be responsible for paying taxes. Isn't that
Mm,
something?
mm. Wow.
Yeah, here you go. Pastor love this part. This is probably your favorite slide right here. This is the these are your contributions to charity. Most people believe in paying tithe. I mean, whether you're a
Right.
Christian or not, I've known people that are not even claiming Christ who believe in charity, who believe in giving. Look at there. Let's say your typical tithes on 5,000, excuse me, 50,000. Your personal tithe 10%, 5,000. Right? These are just
Mhm.
examples depending on what your income 50, 70, 100, or 125 or more is usually
Right.
10%. Right? Now
Right.
you are able to get a little bit on this one. You get about 60%. Okay. So for those of us who have been filing taxes and who have been contributing faithfully to our local church, you do get to get the benefit of a 60% tax write-off. But
Right.
why not get the whole thing through the through the private federal trust? Does that make sense now?
Right. Right.
That means, Pastor, if we all, and let's just say 50% of the congregation of a church will participate and set up their own estate strategy,
Hmm.
now they can actually contribute more to the church and know that they're going to get more of that back.
Right. Right.
Instead of paying
Um,
taxes, now you're looking at tax returns. When when,
hmm.
when the saying says you can't beat God given, look at this here. How about this? What about education? And we're talking education, we're looking at tuition, books, room and board, clothing, any memberships. Look at all of these costs. These are the average costs. You know, tuition to a higher education college average is about 15,000 per semester,
Right.
right? I mean, it's getting out of hand, right?
Right.
You can go get tutors, transportation, even allowances for education. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. We were recently reviewing, and what we come to realize, according to the IRS codes, it's not just for college. Oh no, you got elementary, middle school. If you send your kids to any private education, it does not matter what level. We're
Mm.
talking one-on-one tutoring. You could have a private teacher come to your home and teach your children, all tax deductible
Wow.
from every level up. We were able to locate if you want your kids to take music lessons. My kid is involved with sports. He loves football. Any AAU sports, anything that's going to develop them,
Right.
100% tax deduction. How much are you spending on your wellness? Gym memberships, personal trainers, massage therapy, even your college meal plans we talked about.
Hmm.
Annual groceries, your groceries, everyone. Listen, the average family spends 4,500 a year in groceries. Now I don't know who's eating that a little bit. I know we eat a little more than that over here.
Right.
But you got your supplements, your vitamins. Again, right now you're spending money anyway to feed your families. But with this spendthrift clause, you'll be able to deduct the entire piece, tax deduction. This benefits us today. Now we're
Mm.
looking at the banks and credit card charges. Average interest paid is $1,400 a year on interest on banks and credit cards. Estimated phone expenses 1,400. Annual bank charges. These are those little fees, and some of us may not know, but some of us are familiar with those little NSF fees. There are other fees that are charged.
Right.
Here,
Now
all
your numbers are all, but you're saying that each one of those are a write-off because you only got the 1440 in your total.
make another mistake. Thank you for helping me to realize that.
Yeah.
Look at that. So we're
Wow.
talking, and that's another what, at least 2,800, 2,900, right?
Right.
So every one of these, and I'll go back and correct that. But I just wanted to give some examples just so that people
Uh-huh.
see how this could benefit you today. The average life insurance, man. Let's talk about this. Life insurance is a big deal. Now that's one of the licenses I do carry is a life insurance license. I've had this license for 18 years now, and I have several clients who grew up with the in our communities have the insurance man come by to pick up those premiums on those policies, and grandma having a policy on every one of her grandchildren and children, right? And she's paying
Right.
a few dollars a month on every one of those different policies. Well, what happens now is any life insurance policies that you have, you get them through your trust, they become tax deduction. That allows us, here we are now, to change generations, not just with the assets that we build, but even in the event of our demise, can leave more than the, the average life insurance policy, which may be 10 or 15,000, average funeral, 10 or $15,000. We're able to get more coverage. So imagine if you were able to put $1 million worth of coverage on every one of your family members, because now you're a valued part of the estate. It's not just based on, well, how much can you contribute to the family, based on your job. And you've got family members that may be working, in lower income jobs, right? But
Mhm.
according to the trust value, you're worth $1 million to this family.
Right.
Now, when someone passes away, especially in our communities unjustly, now they got to pay. And every time somebody passes away, $1 million is added to the estate. Now, we're not trying to get
Mhm.
rich off our family passing away
Right.
by no
Right.
means. But why should we suffer because we're not able to put enough coverage on them?
Right. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
And then postage. The average person spends about $1,800 a year in postage. This is just the national average here. And I imagine this includes those who buy and ship gold and other packages that are a little bit heavier. But here's the thing. How much are you spending? Now, just adding everything up, and my numbers may be a little bit off, as we pointed out. In fact, they were off on the low end, right?
Right.
Okay, so this number could be even greater than this, but we're looking at just an average person, and I mean, we're talking somebody who's having everything from hospital events to traveling nationwide, worldwide. You're doing it all, but your family may fit in anywhere in this range. Look at what you're able to write off.
Mm.
This is while you're yet alive.
Right. Right.
This not only happens to benefit you while you're alive, but it's passed on for generations. So once you make the decision to set up your family this way, it changes every generation thereafter.
Right. One of the things that when you were going through the numbers, it reminded me of when I was running my nonprofit. Um, every time I would have a lunch date or I would have a meeting and we were meeting at a restaurant,
Yep.
I would um, I would take the receipt
Mm-hmm.
and I would say the name of my organization about 3 times, and I say, okay, this is a write off. We just talked business.
Because you talk business, you named your organization. That's marketing.
Yes.
That's it.
So we in corporate, if you run a business or things like that, you think about those things, but you don't think about them just in your everyday life,
That's right.
and the benefits that you can have from your everyday life. And I think again, that's why it's important that we get this type of education. Um, especially with generations to come, because if we look at the generation after us right now, the Gen Zs or whatever their letter is, they're making more money than we were at their age, in,
Yes.
in our time.
That's it.
So this would benefit them twice as much, if not 3 times as much, if they got in when they don't have no kids, they just got into their business or their organization, or they just started their business. And if they set themselves up financially, to be able to handle everything before you look at the profits and how much you're going to make when you open your business and how many cookies you're going to sell, or content creators and all this kind of stuff. You can set this up and write almost everything off
Yes.
that you're doing, and not only reap benefit from being the content creator, but get it on the back end when you file your taxes as a content creator.
That's it. That's it. You
Wow.
got it. You got it. And you have, so you have to understand now, while this information has been around long before I got here,
Mm-hmm.
since it has come into my life here in the past 3 to 4 months, I'm having different conversations with my children. And I've shared my vision with you. I know we won't get into all of that today, but I have shared the vision I have with you, and where each one of my children have their own businesses set up. They can become employees of our businesses. And whereas as a business owner, you're able to write off portions, which is great in your public life.
Right.
In your private life, we're able to write off 100%. That just is mind boggling. It
Right.
is mind boggling. So you hit the nail on the head. I enjoy talking with you as always, but you get it. You get it. This matters so much for our
Right.
people. This matters for every generation coming behind us. And what we showed you in this presentation again is the reasons why these trusts become the best choice for your life, your legacy. You own nothing, control everything. Access is being better than ownership, right? You
Mm-hmm.
got access, asset protection, maximum privacy, avoid probate. That is huge. Avoid double taxation, avoid frivolous lawsuits. We talked about that a little bit a couple of sessions ago. Optimize your taxable income. Qualify for Medicaid. You become the lender and not the borrower. Why? Because you're lending from your assets, from your capital holding company to your LLC. So now you're lending and getting that
Mm-hmm.
100% tax deduction. You're building generational wealth by using these trusts to put money in and allow that to grow for you over 3, 4, and 5 next generations. I mean,
Right.
this is critical piece. So when we get back together again, we're going to talk about the question that you may be asking yourself. And I hope that you're thinking this way at this point is, how do I get this trust strategy for me and my family?
That's it. That's it. And that's a great place to end where we are today, because I think, for my TikTok people, and I see y'all floating in and out. And I appreciate you. And thank you, Alive and Wash, for sharing this on your platform, because again, the more people know, the more people know. But I would encourage you to come over to our YouTube channel, not just to become a subscriber, because subscription is free. So I'm not getting no money from it. So if you just come on over to our YouTube channel, look at the previous videos to catch you up on family financial matters with Carlos, and look at 1, 2, and this one, to catch you up. But also, this is something we need. This we ain't selling nothing. We're giving you information so that you can be better informed about your finances. Because look, you look at news and you get depressed looking at what's going on financially globally. But that global effect does not have to affect us if we do it right. And so I'm encouraging you on TikTok to come on over to Clear Faith Christian Ministries channel, subscribe, and be a part of this conversation that we're going to have next week, because next week we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts on how to make it happen. But in order for you to understand that, you got to go back to the previous 1, 2, and 3 so that you understand exactly what we're talking about. So I'm hoping that that is an incentive, not only for you, TikTok, because we're doing it audio, but of course for my YouTube channel people, and Clear Faith Christian Ministries family. This is vital information, and I don't give you nothing that's not going to help you. And so come on over, look at the rebroadcast. If you're just coming in, thank you for coming, appreciate it. But look at the video, go over to YouTube, Clear Faith Christian Ministries, look at the videos. Not, for financial matters. I always want to say family matters, like this is the show,
Well,
but for financial matters, with Carlos McConico Jr. Okay, it's under that title. to talk about trust, what they can do, and how they can benefit. Not only on the business side, if you have a business, but also on the family side, because all of us got family. Okay, so he's for the single person, for the married person, for the grandma that's got a bunch of grandkids. I mean, it's for everybody. Okay, but we want you to have the information, and you know what I always believe: we take care of family first and we deal with cousins later. All right, but we deal with family first. And so this is for you. Carlos, let me thank you once again for giving us just a wealth of information. And if you want to get in now, here's another incentive. Now we giving you all this information for free. I ain't asked for an offering. I ain't asked for nothing. But if you want to get in on this, you got to show up next week at 4:30, because on that broadcast he's going to give his contact information.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you watch 1, 2, and 3, he has no contact information. So you're getting information without getting to the source. Now I want you to come on next week to find out how to do it and to who to do it with. Okay? Because I don't want you to get all this. See, I didn't want you to get all this information and then go run and find somebody else. I'm trying to help him. All right. So if for my family, all right, Clear Faith Christian Nation, we gonna do our business with Carlos McConico Jr. All right. There ain't nobody else. I don't care if he got somebody else in his group. We ain't working with them. We working with him unless he's sick. All right. Then he refer us to somebody. But so understand where I'm going with this. Um, because it's important that we, for us, by us. Okay, if we don't do it, ain't nobody gonna do it for us, or they're gonna do it with a different agenda. And I'm real big on other agendas now. So I want you to get this information. I want you to use this information, and I'm going to step out and say it ain't going to take a whole lot to get you started.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking about, well, I'm not no Mitt Romney, and I'm not no Warren Buffett, and I definitely not no Donald Trump. Well, you don't have to be. You don't have to be.
Yeah.
If you got a job and you got a family, you can do this. Okay, because it's not a get rich quick scheme. All
Mm-hmm.
right, this is a generational wealth development program.
Yes, sir.
All right, and it starts with somebody.
Yes,
And
sir.
why not let it start with you?
That's it.
Okay, Carlos, thank you, sir. We
Yeah.
will be back next week for the conclusion of the matter, like we do in church, for the conclusion of the matter. Um, and I'm looking forward to it, because you got me thinking. We got some stuff coming up right now, but
Mm-hmm.
once we get through with that, we definitely can look at this as well, because I got kids and they making money and they need to be contributing to dad's retirement.
That's right. That's right.
So, but they don't know yet. So don't tell them. Shh, don't tell them yet. Um, but we're going to definitely be here next week. I want to see more of my TikTok people on my YouTube channel, and I'm joking, but if you can't watch it live, it's there. It's on our you. It's in our library, in our live library. You can go to it. Bring your family together and watch these videos and talk about financial wealth. It's not a taboo. It's not a that's for the other folks, for our cousins. No, our cousins been doing it. It's
Yes.
now time for the family to start doing it.
Yes.
Okay, because there's more of us than it is of them, and you'll figure out why everything's going on now when you get home. But anyway, um, let's close it out. Thank you so much. Hey, remember we're on tonight for our teaching, Clear Faith Christian Ministries, Conversation with Pastor D on TikTok, Conversation with Pastor Devin Miller on YouTube. We're continuing our teaching on in the from the book In His Presence by E.W. Kenyon. Again, all we're on lesson 10, 11. We're almost done. But we're on lesson 11. If you want to catch that, some powerful teaching, you got to go to the library. All right. And that's on Clear Faith Christian Ministries channel on YouTube. All right, my friend. Have a great rest of your day. Hold on. I got to do a station identification on. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Boy, they put all these security things in place, make you think you stole something. All right, here we go. All right. There we go. Okay. Um, so we'll be back at 4:30 next Wednesday. And thank you again. Any closing thoughts before we go?
No, just thank you once again for being the man that God called you to be, because so many people's lives are impacted by your ministry in all of its different forms. And I'm just honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The honor is ours because you're the man with the information. And you know, the saying is always surround yourself with good people in order for you to stay a good person. So I thank you for helping me help you help me in all that we say and all that we do. So, all right, family, I got to get out of here. I got a session at 5 o'clock. I mean 6 o'clock, I think, but I think they didn't change their time. But you know, I'll be back.
Yes.
We'll be back at 8:30, ready to teach. I'm gonna take a nap and all that good stuff, so I ain't falling asleep on you. And we're gonna have a good time in the Word. All right. So until next time, may God's richest and greatest blessings be yours. Peace.